Today we're ranking bike features based on their usefulness. Now in our last upload there was a little bit of confusion as to the criteria of our list, so Logan, tell us what a bike feature is.
Yeah, so I think a bike feature, it's a component put on by the manufacturer that aids in either safety or convenience, but isn't absolutely necessary to the basic operation of the motorcycle.
Thank you for clearing that up, Logan. That makes a lot more sense, and it's gonna make even more sense as we get into this video. We're also gonna tell you guys if these are features we can live without or if we absolutely have to have them. Let's start off with the least useful feature and one that's a little controversial given what we've said here on the channel, and that is, of course, analog displays. So analog displays, we've been talking about them forever here on the channel. We love them, the sweeping dials, the beautiful look on these bikes. And originally we were gonna put TFT displays, but we thought about it and analog displays are now the sort of feature and kind of the weird one. So how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, it is funny. It's, you know, everything is cyclical, right? Like at one point, not that long ago, TFTs were the feature, right? Like that was something that made your experience a little bit nicer, a little bit more special, upmarket feeling. Now, in this new sort of recirculation of analog fetishism, an analog gauge is like the new cool trendy thing. Like a manufacturer made a specific intentional decision to use that sweeping needle in lieu of a TFT dash.
So yeah, analog displays are now like a feature, and truthfully, other than looking cool, which we do like quite a lot, they're not particularly useful. They display less information, they are more costly to make, and you know, analog displays for me, could I live without it? Certainly I can. You know, I do own at this point, it's bordering on modern classic. My Daytona 675 does have a sweeping needle, but it has a little readout. But my daily bike has a TFT display. Your Honda Trans Up has a TFT display. And so these are things that I think whether we like it or not, we have to learn to live with them. But I mean, I could certainly do without it. I don't need a TFT. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think it's cool, but it's got to be on a cool older bike, right?
Yeah.
Like it's too compromised on a modern bike most of the time. So I can definitely live without it. I mean, most of the time I am living without it.
Yeah, so we're gonna put here 2, living without it. You don't need it. Moving on.
So this is going to be a fun one, maybe not controversial, but the things we say might still rile up a certain demographic in the comment section. I even wore my Harley Davidson shirt for just for the occasion. So of course it is sound systems.
Oh man.
The bikes that have it are very proud of having sound systems. It's all over the product pages. Bose JBL speakers, Bose 200, 1200 amp, I don't even know.
Yeah,
Crazy stuff.
3,000 watts or whatever. So sound systems. This is, I think, to me, a feature that is like from a lost time,
100%.
you know, like, because in the world of cardos, in the world of, you know, in-ear, in-helmet audio systems, why subject the world to your sound? Why do that? Why create noise pollution? This is not only a very silly feature, very outdated feature, and a feature that is only found on, yeah, big daddy bagger cruiser bikes, right? Like, I would love to know if you do have a Harley, like, does it have a sound system? Does it not have a sound system? Why do you have a sound system? Because not only do I think that the experience of a cardo is better for like the general population, because we try to be conscientious here on Yami Noob, but it's a better experience for the rider too.
Yeah, it's
the sound is clearer,
yeah,
like it's everything better. I don't get it.
I think it's literally only just like an aura farming thing. Like you're doing it to send a message. Like it's
totally,
because it's not beneficial to anybody. Yeah, the wind, the engine sound. If you have a full face helmet on and earplugs specifically, you're not going to be hearing, you know, crap from out of your sound system.
No,
you're doing it to put on this like act, to be like, I am that guy with the big sound system on my bagger. When
I lived in downtown Austin, over the years, I had a couple different units down there. I always kind of hear them before they would arrive. It was always the same genre of man. It was like just this guy like pulls up to a stop sign, like super loud exhaust, sound system blaring. I can hear them all the way up in my unit, and just like the stance is the same. They're just like, you know, like this, and the backwards hat.
Yeah,
you know,
always the backwards.
The backwards flat bill. It's like that's like the genre of guy that does the sound system. So I mean, do I need to tell you? I could absolutely live without a sound system, and I wish other people would too. Hard pass on the sound system. I don't think we need any of those anymore. Moving on. All right, next up on the list is, of course, Bluetooth connectivity. This is one of those features that I think manufacturers like. They think that people want them, and they think that they need to have them for all of their bikes. I have never met a single human being who has connected their phone to their bike and says this is a great experience. Every software system they have is different. Every connectivity system is different. And we talked about this pre-production. You just get a handlebar mount and put your phone on the bike because that's going to work better. Right. I think this feature is crazy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like the systems that are most like highly touted by manufacturers, like they'll even have on Africa Twins and some BMW touring models, they'll say like, Apple CarPlay or Android Bike Play or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like that literally is just putting your phone screen on your, it's the same
mirrored
thing.
version.
Yeah, it's just, and if you can already put your phone on your handlebar for navigation or whatever, why would you not just do that? It fundamentally makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
And then the lesser versions are some weird built-in proprietary navigation system that you still have to connect your phone to because it's using the phone signal or satellites, I don't know. And again, just put the phone on the handlebar. It makes no sense to me.
Personally, I've never connected my phone to any of my bikes. I think that's crazy work. I don't understand it at all. So as you can tell, I'm gonna hard pass on this feature. I could absolutely live without Bluetooth connectivity. In a lot of cases, I kind of wish manufacturers would stop pushing it. What do you think?
Yeah, I only even use that system for my car because that's how you turn the air on and it's hot here. But that's literally, if I could remote start it from the key fob like you used to be able to do, I wouldn't even use the app for my car. So yeah, no, I can live without it completely.
That's totally fair.
I don't know about you, but I'm launching my motorcycle every time, every stoplight, every stop sign. I'm
You're
launching
preaching to the choir. Yeah.
Full pinned, dump the clutch, you know. And so to launch as effectively as possible, you need launch control.
Launch control.
Launch control.
Beautiful feature. Funny story about this. Literally yesterday, I was coming back home from Yaminu HQ, and I saw a guy on a KTM, literally like a brand new 990, 1290, something like that. I couldn't quite tell because he was going so fast. He was at the stoplight, and he was first at the light. I saw him literally fiddle with the bar, enter like his stance, and he looked like a commercial. He was head to toe KTM, like full suit, orange, you know, and he and then took off. And I was like, all right, that was kind of cool actually. He actually did what the thing, you know, the whole thing says in the commercial. But I love launch control on bikes that are like street oriented, naked bikes, because in theory, launch control is great for a race bike, you know, your Yamaha R1s, you're gonna go club race the bike. Yeah, launch control is helpful because you're gonna get the whole shot, you're gonna, you know, beat all your buddies in club racing. That's awesome, right? What's funny is even at a track day, you can't use launch control.
Really?
You can't stop in the middle of a track on a track day.
Oh yeah.
You gotta, everybody's going, it's not safe. You literally only do that in race environments. So for your dirt bikes and stuff, those are useful. But yeah, like a KTM Duke 390 with launch control. Huh? What? Make it make sense. So I think it's like a fun feature. It's a fun party trick feature. I think if your bike has it, you should owe it to yourself to at least try it out, see what happens. I've always been too much of a pussy to try it, honestly, because like I don't feel comfortable letting a computer decide my fate. You know what I mean? Like just full pin and just dump the clutch and like hope it works. Nah, I'm gonna feather the clutch and I'll do it myself. Thank you very much.
And so maybe that's why they put it on like the Duke 390 and stuff. So it's like they can get you kind of used to it.
You try it a little bit. That makes sense.
You develop the trust with the machine.
But for launch control, I don't know, man. Totally useless.
Yeah.
I can absolutely live without it.
Yeah, I would agree too.
Okay. Yeah, and it's kind of funny because like, I mean, we are ranking these based on usefulness. So obviously the first couple features, maybe not as useful, but I would think that at some point here, I'd be like, oh, maybe I'd want it. Nah, I still don't want it. So we got to get to the next feature, see if I actually would keep it. So Logan, we were talking about this pre-production in terms of, you know, riding at full tilt, full gas, doing all the time. And you were saying, oh, I never go above, you know, 50% throttle. So I'm always above 50% throttle, baby. And that's why for me, ride modes are useless. I don't understand ride modes at all. Because if you have the experience, you have the skills, why would you put a super powerful motorcycle into rain mode? If I'm riding a 200 horsepower bike, guess what? It better not be raining outside, baby. I want that traction. I want to have fun with the bike.
Yeah, so it's a sliding scale, right? Like super powerful bikes, you could maybe make the case for somebody who maybe overestimated their ability and they bought that 1000, they bought that V4, you know, maybe they need street mode or road mode. For a lot of bikes, for instance, middleweight bikes, completely useless, right? Like on my Transalp, I put it in sport mode when I got it and then I never changed it because it makes 85 horsepower. Like I put it in rain mode once actually when it was raining, just kind of out of curiosity, and it's unintuitive. And it could be bike specific. Certain models are better or worse at certain things, but all your training and muscle memory is like different in rain mode. And it's like the correlation between throttle and power is confusing when it deviates from what you normally expect. So if you can't, I don't like ride.
You bring up a really good point in that the connection between rider and throttle on a bike, a bike that you live with, that's like the number one thing that you get on. You know what it's going to do when you add 5%, 10%, 15%. When you change the ride modes, the whole map changes.
Yeah.
And why would you want to change that regularly?
Right.
Like once you're used to what it does in a given twist of the wrist, you want to keep it that way, Like for the Aprilia 200 V4 we have that's going to launch as a giveaway bike at the end of this week that you watch this video, very excited about that bike. I got that bike, I put it in sport mode, I never took it out of sport mode because I know that what the throttle does and I have enough experience to manage the bike, and the TC and the other stuff's working in the background. So honestly, ride modes to me, I'm also kind of on the fence about them. Like I can see their use case, but when you really start to think about it, you're like, shouldn't there just be one good mode?
Right.
Why do we have
optimized?
Yeah, just like one solid mode. And also bikes like, I don't know, like a new Panigale, it's a race bike. Shouldn't you just have one really solid mode where you can go the fastest? So I don't know, I want to start saying I'd use these things, but I could live without ride modes.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you put the trans op in one mode and that's it.
Right.
What do you need the other modes for?
And yeah, every other mode sucks.
Yeah.
And is harder and less intuitive, and it makes you challenge your own instincts and skill. And I think call me an unk, but I'm gonna say no for me. It's a no for me.
What a flex that would be for manufacturer to be like, we only have one mode.
Yeah.
Like, it's one mode.
And especially if some of your other features, which we'll get to, are complementary and like kind of make ride modes like negligible, right?
Yeah.
If everything else is working so well.
Yeah.
Since I guess we're in like ranting about tech portion of the video, we're just gonna move right along to traction control, specifically ignition-based traction control.
Yes.
Because traction control is a very nuanced thing. It varies a lot between model to model and the technology they use to control traction. So
talk us through what is ignition-based traction control and why did we sort of separate the two?
Yeah, so ignition-based traction control is the traction control you'll find on kind of your mid-range or lower level motorcycles, so it's not controlled by a high-tech advanced IMU that's, real-time pitch yaw to the thousandth of a second, right? It's a simple wheel speed sensor, detects wheel slip, and it cuts the ignition, which if you're not used to that is kind of jarring. Like it still catches me off guard on my Trans Alp if I catch some air on a speed bump or slide a little bit on a manhole cover. I lurch forward. I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, oh yeah, there's the lights flashing on the dash. It's just cutting the ignition. So I don't love it. How about you? Have you ever been in an instance where ignition-based traction control specifically has saved your butt?
No, I'm gonna be totally honest. And the reason for that is typically, as Logan said, they're on lower powered motorcycles that I don't feel like I need traction control in general, right? Like if I'm on some 75 horsepower motorcycle, if the wheel slips a little bit, I'm gonna be just fine. But maybe that's because I'm an experienced rider, right? Like maybe if I was a more intermediate level or entry level rider, it would scare me a little bit and it'd be nice to have that safety net. And like Logan said, a lot of them are not very sophisticated. They're jarring. You're opening the throttle, it just bogs down. And sometimes I feel like it's less safe than if I just had a little bit of normal slip on the motorcycle, because that feels natural, and it's okay to have a little slide, if you slide a little bit, you feel the bike drift off axis. It's not a huge deal. I've never felt any of those systems to be beneficial, so to speak. And also, they get in the way of wheelies. I really hate that. I don't know why because in theory it would just hook, but maybe it slips a little bit before the wheel comes up, but every time I've had those systems, I gotta go in and turn it off to even do a little wheelie, which is the fun of having lower powered bikes anyways. So for me, the ignition-based stuff, I'm kind of like,
Another layer, if you are a less experienced rider, and I'm not gonna do the whole boomer, they're not gonna teach you the throttle control, because I don't think that's 100% true, but they vary so much from bike to bike that your instincts are never gonna be universal, right? I learned to ride motorcycles on analog bikes, no ABS, no traction control. The skills are universal of like, more throttle, more bike moves faster.
Yeah, managing traction, not adding, inputs during lean, like all that stuff works normally. Yeah.
And if you're used to working around or working with these model-specific, simple traction control systems, I think it might stand in the way of your intuition.
I don't know. I think it's a feature that if your bike has it, it's fine. You can work around it, but truthfully, I would just turn it off. I'm gonna put a check mark for this one. I'm kind of like, okay, like it's nice to have TC. I think it's okay. Whatever.
Sure.
What about you?
I mean, I think I would look like a total hypocrite if I said I couldn't live without it after everything I just said. So,
all right, let's bring back some positivity. We did delineate these two, and they are right next to each other on the list. We have traction control up here, but an IMU-based system. So much more advanced, much more rigorous, much more holistic, and much more detailed in what it can really do. And the nth degree nowadays is, I think, Ducati systems that have like predictive stuff. You have Aprilia stuff that literally can map it out corner by corner. You have slide control and you have wheelie control and you have all these amazing things. And they just get so good nowadays that you don't even feel them while you're riding. You talked about riding in like a more analog and just like normal way. The new Ducati stuff, I don't want to harp on Ducati, but the new Ducati stuff is so good that you don't even, it just makes you feel like you're better at riding than you really are, which is like the best version of traction control in my opinion.
Sure.
But it's very race oriented, very, you know, all that kind of stuff. Do you feel like, because you don't do race bike stuff, do you feel like as a street rider that an IMU is important to you?
I mean, if I were to have, especially moving up, you know, 100 plus, 120 plus horsepower, I think you can then start to benefit from these more advanced systems. Would I have an IMU-based safety suite before a really rudimentary wheel speed sensor or ignition-based safety suite? 100%. Like, because we've been talking about this whole time, they're just way more intuitive, right? Like, they respond to how you are riding. It's not this kind of big sweeping one size fits all on or off system.
And also, if you're the type of rider that's only ever experienced ignition-based traction control on the very simple systems and you said, that stuff sucks, I want to keep it analog, I will tell you, I've ridden a lot of bikes, the new stuff that's IMU-based, you can't really feel it on road. It just feels like a normal motorcycle. Again, like we've got that Aprilia 200 V4 coming out, I've been putting some miles on that bike. I don't really sense that it's doing anything other than what I want it to do, which is the best kind of traction control. So it's really cool. It's an invisible layer. So for me, I'm gonna say I like IMUs. I definitely want them on my bike, especially these more powerful, torquey bikes that, hey, like I know what I'm doing, I know how to ride, but on my worst days, I'd love for a system to be there for me. So IMU passes for you?
Yeah, I'll give it the
all right,
the elusive Logan check mark.
Cool. Moving on.
So we're really cooking now. We're into the good stuff, the useful portion of the usefulness ranking. So none other than Quickshifter up next. Maybe I'm showing my age or whatever. I feel like it wasn't that long ago that Quickshifters were like very novel, right? And everyone's like, oh, that bike has a Quickshifter, I want that. Or it was a factory option. It's still kind of crazy to me that the Touareg, it was like a factory, it was an option, it didn't come default.
Mine didn't. I also was kind of surprised when I got it. I'm like, what, doesn't have it? I thought all of them have it nowadays. That proves the point to where it's become so ubiquitous so quickly. And it's kind of a funny feature in that it was designed as a race bike feature in the mid-2000s, where it's like, oh cool, like, you know, the way it works is it slips a gear by cutting ignition from the engine and allows the transmission to just go up a gear. And it is so, on a very powerful bike, it's awesome to just have it full pin and just and just bang those gears. It is like very, very joyful. One of the weirdest parts about motorcycling in the last like 10, 15 years is every bike just started coming with one.
Right.
Sport bikes, adventure bikes, I think some cruisers have them now. Like it's like everything has a quick shifter, and it's kind of like, oh, that's weird. Like some bikes should not have a quick shifter, honestly.
Yeah, it's funny, like, you know, my Honda Transup has a quick shifter and I rarely use it, and you laughed at me for that. But it's like, it's an adventure bike and I live in the city. Like rarely, if I'm on an hour-long ride, you know, 10% of the time am I going above 50% throttle, right? Because it's stop and go traffic or, you know, lights or, you know, cars and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing about quick shifters, specifically the ones on these sort of more middleweight bikes, they're not that awesome if you're not fully pinned, you know what I mean?
And especially from 1 to 2, you need to have that extra gas. Like a lot of them struggle from 1 to 2, and then like you have to actually be on the gas for it to work correctly, because guess what? It's a race bike feature, you know? But it's one of those features that I think over time we've all come to expect on all the bikes now, and I've gotten to the point where I don't think I can live without it. I like a quick shifter. On nearly every bike, Yeah,
I mean, it would be weird, and I probably wouldn't buy a bike that didn't have one if everything else in the category did.
Yeah.
And even though a majority of the time I don't use it, when I do use it, it is pretty fun.
Yeah, you know? I do like it. So yeah, for me, quick shifter, I do want it. Yeah, I do like it. What about you?
Yeah, I like it and I want it. Like I said, even if I don't use it every time, I want it to be there. I want to know it's there.
For sure. All right, 4th place. This one was tough to put in 4th place because this is one of my absolute favorite features, and that is cruise control. Now, I used to be one of those guys that was like, cruise control, what are you, a baby? Just keep your wrist on the right position, like it's fine. But once I started using it and I saw how simple it was on the bikes that had the more advanced cruise control and stuff, I started to really dig cruise control. And I do cruise control Mog U with your Transop because my Touareg has cruise control, beautifully so.
I think cruise control would be nice to have when you need to use it. The way I ride, where I ride, how I ride, I never feel like I'm missing it.
That's fair.
But again, that's just a matter of my reality. Again, same with the Quickshifter. If a bike had it, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
you could live without it,
I could
right?
live without it. I think I have thus far.
I think it's for me, I thought I could live without it for a long time, but once I sampled the electronic cruise control on the Touareg and you could actually like, toggle it up and down, cruise around a little bit, I do think it's a nice feature to have. Could I live without it? I could, I guess, like it's not necessary.
But you don't want to.
But I don't want to, but I'll say I can live without it personally. Yeah, even though I do think it's very useful.
Oh, 100%. It's definitely useful, but I can live without it too.
Yeah, I lived without it for a long time, is my thing. I'm like, like I didn't absolutely need it, so.
I may have been talking about how a Quickshifter is a nice feature to have, even though I personally don't use it that often. What I do use often, every time I ride, every time I downshift, is an auto blipper.
Auto blip. Auto blips are really great. Auto blips are awesome. So this was a technology that has somewhat pretty recently started coming in on a lot more new motorcycles, and it has to work very differently than a Quickshifter, right? Because we mentioned a Quickshifter, it's a relatively simple system. It cuts ignition, slips the gear up, not too bad. An auto blip is way more complicated. You need ride-by-wire, you need the computer to be able to rev match to where it needs to go and to like sense the signal on the pedal. So it's a lot more complicated, but once you try it, it's awesome. Not only are you faster on a racetrack, it also kind of takes the guesswork out of an entry or intermediate level rider downshifting on the street, right? And we were talking about like, hey, you have to learn how to ride, you have to do it the right way. But for an entry level rider, using the auto blip going into a corner just provides that level of safety. And at the end of the day, you can always pull in the clutch and do it the old fashioned way too. So I think auto blip is a really cool feature pound for pound.
Yeah, it's equal parts cool because obviously, you're coming in top of the rev range, just hammering down, even just coming to a stoplight, it sounds cool, even if you're on a dorky ADV bike. And then secondly, it's also just convenient, right? Like one less time, I commute on a motorcycle, I ride a motorcycle all the time, even not for fun, right? It's purely for utility. I'm just trying to get home or go to the store or whatever. And when you're riding in the city, clutching in, it just gets tiresome, right? So just kicking down, it's so nice and convenient. And I personally would never go back. Like, even when I ride the Sportster, of course, for a million reasons, I'm like, okay, this is old and not fun. The main thing I miss is like not being able to like auto blip down, just hammer down through the gears.
Yeah. Some systems are not as good as others, right? Not all auto blips are made equally, right? I think Triumph's auto blip, for example, has a little bit of work to catch up to like the Ducati auto blitters. I think the Honda ones are pretty good too. Kawasaki's are nice, but yeah, some of them are not that great. But I agree with you. This is one that I love, and it'd be hard pressed to live without it. I really think these are a lot of fun. I would definitely want one on any bike that I own. And I'm really happy that my Touareg, I fitted the Quickshifter and auto blip to it. Yeah, because it works great. Moving on to second place. Now, second place was a strange one for us because this is kind of a niche feature, but we think it's such a big game changer and such a new and novel thing and provides so much utility that we kind of had to talk about it. It is, of course, Honda's proprietary e-clutch system. Now, we have made tons of videos about this. We had a CBR 650R last year that had an e-clutch. I bought it just because it had the e-clutch. I made so many videos about it, covering it extensively. So if you want to learn all about it, go and watch those videos. But Logan, give us a quick TLDR on the auto clutch.
So
e-clutch.
So the e-clutch, I think it's essentially like a recluse clutch or whatever, if people are familiar with that, where when you're coming to a stop or leaving a stop, separate of a Quickshifter, you don't have to engage or disengage the clutch. No matter how I say it, someone's gonna flame me, I'm saying it wrong. Engage or disengage. What you would pull in the clutch lever, you don't have to do coming into, because there's motors and electronics, E for electronic, that move the clutch plates and allow you to come to a stop and take off from a stop without using the clutch, as well as not having to use the clutch to change gears up or down. So similar to a Quickshifter and an auto blipper in that way. But you were saying there is a compromise with the e-clutch compared to the dedicated, more simple system.
Right? I think that since it's a more complicated system, you can only find them on Hondas. Like, yes, it has a higher level of utility, right? Because you can ride the bike without ever touching the clutch lever, which is pretty novel, right? On top of that, you can pull in the clutch and it works like a normal motorcycle, which is even cooler. But compared to a Quickshifter and auto blip, it's not as satisfying. Like, the downshift on an e-clutch is kind of weird because it's physically moving those clutch plates. And then on top of that too, especially on the CBR, it's still a cable throttle, so it's not auto blipping. So it's kind of just like letting the clutch take up. Then it's like, oh, my slipper clutch works. And so it feels a little awkward, but we had to rate it super high because it's like such a useful feature. You know, it's a kind of a game changer for entry-level riders. It is technically a clutchless shift up and down, which is pretty cool too. So I think, and it's not much money. I think like Honda sells it for like an extra $150 on the bike. So it's a kind of a crazy, like, small price to pay for such a massive feature gain on the motorcycle. And again, if you don't want to use it, you simply pull in the clutch. It works completely normally. If you want to turn it off completely, you can in the system too. So I think you're not really missing anything and you gain a lot. However, the flip side, I could completely live without an e-clutch. I've tried it, I sampled it, and truthfully, I really prefer auto blip and quick shift. So yeah, I think e-clutch is a great system, really useful, but personally, I don't need it. And then Logan, we'll just put a question mark because you don't know, but you didn't try it out, I guess.
Try it out.
But now, let's talk about the best feature on a motorcycle.
We've been recording for so long, I forgot what the last feature was, but it is none other than ABS.
ABS, come on. It's a boring choice, but it's the correct choice. There is no better feature, right? Come on.
Anti-lock braking system. For those who haven't, I just have like, it's burned in my brain. I'm sitting in the back seat in my mom's car in like the late 90s early, and there's like, back when cars used to have the little ABS sticker being, this car has ABS.
Yeah.
And it has like the little like diagram of what ABS is. Like, that's burned into my brain.
Yep. And again, how like motorcycles are dephased from cars, you can still buy some models with ABS or without ABS. So this is a feature. Like, it's one of those things where we talked about some of these things being ubiquitous. ABS is like the most ubiquitous feature because I think most people realize, like, yeah, this is just a superior safety system.
Yeah, and to be sold in the EU, I think it has to have ABS, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The States are just kind of holding out on that. But, so ABS, similar to traction control, also there's a wider range of the capabilities of ABS across different models, right?
Yes. Yeah, we have regular traditional ABS where all it does is just like if it senses the wheel speed, it'll start pumping the brakes on your behalf instead of locking the wheel, typically helping you stay upright, right? It's the whole purpose of ABS, and that's super useful, right? I know a lot of people unless I can outbrake the ABS. You probably can't in a real panic brake situation because you just want to grab as much front brake as possible and hope to God you stop. That's all you're doing. But in other situations, like cornering ABS, which is a new system that bikes have utilizing the IMU, utilizing higher degree of sensors, the bike is at lean and then it provides, you know, pulsing brake forces so that you don't tuck the front end, which is pretty common on motorcycles to tip in mid-corner and then, like, you know, you got to brake suddenly and then wash out the front end. So I think ABS, for how much you're paying extra for all these bikes, a couple $100, massive gain in terms of safety. And honestly, on the street, you're not braking hard enough to even really feel ABS 99% of the time, right? Like front brake pressure, do you feel ABS? Normal street riding, I don't ever, right? Like, you gotta really be hammering on the front brake to feel ABS. Now, rear brake, you know, you add a little bit extra, it starts doing that weird crunchy feeling. I don't like that as much. So bikes that have switchable rear ABS, I think is kind of fun because then you can slide it, do stuff, but then you're still protected on that front brake lever. So I think ABS, it has to be the #1 feature.
Yeah, luckily I've only had, I mean, knock on folding table, but I've only had one instance of actually, I think ABS didn't save my life, I probably wouldn't have died, but saved me from something bad happening, a car pulled out in front of me, whatever. And I was like, this is really scary. You feel like the wheels start to slide and stop sliding, the front wheel. Yeah. And I stopped and I didn't hit the car. And that was great. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I get it.
You get the hype.
Yeah, I get the hype.
So yeah, I think ABS, it's been around for forever. There's a reason it's been around for forever. And now you see that trickle down. We were talking about IMUs coming down the R7. I mean, a Honda Grom has ABS, for God's sakes. That used to be like a top of the line feature in the BMW in the 80s, I think, pioneered it, you know? So that's pretty cool that nowadays everything can come with ABS. And as a race bike guy, A lot of times ABS is annoying as hell because the fluid is traveling such a big distance and you don't get as much precision, but that's race bike, track bike stuff. For most regular street riders, ABS is one that I would highly recommend. I would love for my bike to have it. Not that I would feel sketched out if my bike didn't have ABS, but I would prefer to have it.
No, for sure. I will probably never go out of my way unless it's some older bike that's just cool.
So the check marks kind of mapped out to usefulness, which is kind of funny. I was hoping that something down here we'd kind of live with, but at the same time, it's like, well, it kind of makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
I think the E-clutch was the only one that's like, it's very useful, but I could totally take it or leave it just because I'm a bit of a calcified unk, so to speak. So what do you guys think about our ranking over here for bike features based on usefulness? Let us know down in the comments. Hopefully the criteria made sense to you today. If there's any feature that we forgot, let us know down in the comments below. We were limited to only 12 on today's ranking. Thanks so much for checking out today's video. We appreciate it. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.